Hello, people. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Yes. You can hear me? Oh, okay, good. I guess let's give people a minute to come on in. But I wanted to show everyone my really cute moth costume that I got. Yep. Hi there. I'm bringing the moth woman vibe, yes. I don't know how long I'll be wearing the cape, but I just had to show it. I just couldn't resist. Here, let me show you the back. Oh, can you see it? It's a moth woman cape. Yes. Yes. I even got my little moth woman antenna. So yeah. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I'm excited for today, guys. Okay. Hello there, Marcus. Nice to see you. Hi there, Thesis. Lovely. And Trevor. Always a pleasure. Yeah, so if you guys know me all that well, you'll know that I actually love moths. I love the Mothman, Mothwoman, whole dealio. And I'll tell you why. Okay, because some years ago, when I was doing a meditation, I had a little moth woman come up to me. And I actually didn't know it was a moth at first. I was, you know how meditations are, especially if you're really getting into being able to see into some other place. Okay. It came to me, it was like kind of blurry and everything like that. And it started to get into focus, and it looked like I thought it was an owl at first. I thought maybe it was an owl. It had these little tufts on the top of it. I thought it was the ear tufts. And then that was when they zoomed my focus in. It was like they took like a magnifier, and it was like it did this like that, literally. Like that's what it felt like. It went and then it zoomed in on what I thought were the ear tufts. And it wasn't actually ear tufts. It was moth antenna. Hi there, Brayden. Nice to see you. So yeah, it was moth antenna. As you can see, look, they're really, really cute. I just couldn't resist. I've just been listening to a bunch of stuff about Mothman and all that type of stuff. So I decided to get this to play around and have some fun. So yeah, hopefully I can, I didn't write any notes or anything. So I'm like, oh, I got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to say. So I really hope that I can keep up with everything that I have planned, because, it's been like 2 weeks now, and I like to come back once a week, but it's been 2 weeks at this point. I was out of town last week, and I had a wonderful time with a friend of mine, and it was just such a nice time. But honestly, it was a little hard to leave, because not even that it was so much hard to leave. It was like, when we go to these conferences and everyone meets up and you get to be around people who are like-minded, and so you feel like more at home than you do, let's say, out there in the world, the normal world, I guess you could say. So it was a little hard to leave, because it was like leaving a conference. It was like leaving behind the energy of feeling like someone really understood me and knew me and could see me, and I actually gave me a lot of reflections. Hi, Claudette. Nice to see you here. It actually gave me a really good reflection on some things that I had not been able to quite figure out before. I have people all the time, come up to me, or when we're at the conferences and stuff like that, and people that are close to me, and they've told me before, like, you're not a human. Like, I remember I even had this one girlfriend that she was like, I swear to God, like, you were concocted somehow. Like, you weren't born a normal human way, even. Like, there's something different about you, and I didn't, I'm like, yeah, I agree, but like I didn't really quite understand the level of what they were talking about until I got to kind of see that reflected back to me in this person. Okay. And this friend of mine, I don't want to put them on blast, so I'm not going to say anything about who they are or anything. But so, as I was looking at this person, I was realizing like, I got that feeling, that's this energetic feeling. Like, they even said to me, like, you feel more like an energy than you do like a human. And I realized looking back at them that that's how I was feeling towards them. They did not, I was like, no, I was like, you're in a human body, but you're not a human. Like there's no way. Like I can sense it, I can feel it. And that was when it hit me. Well, this is what people are talking about. This is what they are talking about when they say, like, oh, you're more like an energy. You're not a human being. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm in a human body though. I'm in a human body this time around. Last I checked. So I'm slowly accepting that there is something different about me. And some of the subject matters that I'm going to talk to you guys about today really kind of solidified that. Like it really shook me up, and so I decided, what, I need to talk about this stuff. I'd already planned on coming and talking about the Doctor Who episode Listen, which we're going to go into today, and some of the cool things about it. Okay, let's see. Where do I even want to start? Should we start with the Doctor Who episode? Are we gonna go? No, we'll go into the Chinese fairies part first. We'll go into the Chinese fairies and Immortal because, I'm definitely okay. I've been saying this for a while, guys, but I'm in alignment. I'm in alignment with my mission again. For a short time there, I kind of gotten thrown off course. I feel like by moving in with someone that I shouldn't have moved in with. Okay, basically. And it did not turn out well, obviously, in the long run. And I really felt like that threw me off for the entire time that it was happening. It really, like, it took me off, like, it threw me off kilter, threw me off balance. And so I was a little bit worried. Like, was I ever going to get back all of the, like, spirit talking to me and everything on a regular basis and more clearly? Was I going to feel like myself again? It really made me shrink my energy down. I mentioned that to you guys before. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, especially considering now that I know that this house was waiting for me, basically, like this house was empty for 7 years that I'm in right now. And I'm thinking, wow, like, what if I had taken a different path? What if I had put the hard work and dedication into finding a way out of my previous situation before that? What if I'd dedicated myself in the same way that I'm dedicated right now to affording a living on my own and everything? The way I went and got this house, I would have done the same thing. I would have asked my ex-husband, I would have asked people like, do you have any recommendations? And who knows, I might have been able to avoid that entire year had I just been willing to believe that there was another way out, that there was another possibility for me to get out. And I'm just like, wow, I have to really make sure that I follow my heart, because my heart was not in that path that I went down for that year that threw me off. It wasn't that, my heart was not with that. So now that I'm back in alignment and I'm in this house, all right, and I'm doing my own thing and everything is just lining up, click, 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 click. It's like I'm getting the same type of, almost, I call it like a reward, kind of, so to speak, in the same way that I used to get guided to different things, different pieces of information. Seems like those pieces, those pieces of information that come to you at just the right time to tell you just what you need to hear, right? I remember one of the first things that really came to me was the Ascension Glossary, okay, and the Solar Feminine Melchizedek. All right, like I remember that came to me at a very crucial time where it was like I basically had told Spirit, I was like, I'm tired of trying to figure out this mystery, and you're gonna tell me, what's going on right now. Like, what is this situation? Why am I feeling this way? What are you guys trying to tell me? They're like breadcrumbing me this whole time. They were like really excited to share it with me, and they did. And it was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense now. Okay, well, I've gotten to another one of those junctures. And hi, Jeremy. Nice to see you here. So recently, okay, for a while now, I've been talking about fairies and the fact that I wanted to do either like some type of class on fairies, or I wanted to be able to download. Like I was basically asking Spirit, like, help me download the information that I need to share with people about what it means to be a fairy, right? What does it mean to be a fairy being? And I could not get anything. And it was really bothering me. I was like, I know basically some of the folklore and some of the legends of fairies, and it just didn't seem to click. It just didn't seem to come easy to me. And I thought, how can a fairy being not have this information? How is that possible? And so that was when I, luckily, Spirit's been guiding me. Okay. And so we came across another type of fairy being. I noticed in these shows that I love so much, these Chinese and the Korean, not so much, but the Chinese dramas that I'd be watching. Like I remember I did a whole live stream on the one called Love Between Fairy and Devil. And like all these different ones that I've been watching lately. The latest one I've been watching is called Ashes of Love. And the reason I started it was because Netflix said it's leaving Netflix on December 15th. So I was like, okay, you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll take a shot at this one. So Ashes of Love, and it's all fairy beings and immortals. And that was when I realized, I was like, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm not, the reason I'm not getting downloads, I'm not getting information from Spirit on these other types of fairies, these Irish, from Ireland and in that area. The reason I'm not getting that, okay, and this is what they showed me, okay. They speak to me a lot of time in images. They speak to me in movies. They speak to me in songs. Okay. And Spirit was basically showing me a kid's toy. All right. Hi, Geraldine. I'm talking about fairy stuff right now. So we're going into a different type of fairy stuff though right now. So I'm just going to let you know. All right. So what they showed me was a kid's toy. And I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. It's like a box. All right. And it has like, shapes, different shapes, and they give you blocks that are those shapes, and you got to match up the shapes and put them in the holes so that they go into the box, right? And this whole time I had been, let's say that the Irish fairies and stuff like that, let's say they're like a square, basically like a square shape, right? And so I'm trying to go put myself into this square shape, and I'm like, it's not going, I'm like, what is going on here? And it's because I've been shoving myself into the wrong shape, because I am a star shape. Okay. And the star shape, okay, is the Chinese fairies, the mythology of Chinese fairies. Okay. So that's when I knew, I'm like, I have to do some research on Chinese fairies and figure out why it is that I vibe with them so much. Why do I vibe with this concept so much? Like, because I'm wondering from the shows I'm watching, I'm like, is this true to the mythology and the legends in China? How true is this, So I went looking, I went searching, and you know what? I should grab my phone real quick because I actually do want to stay with me. It's literally right over here. Let me just grab it. But they led me to another piece of my own puzzle, so to speak. And so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up real quick. Just give me 1 second. I was literally blown away. I was blown away. Yeah, here it is. Found it right away. Okay, so just to tell you how some of the synchronicities lined up for me. Oh, I thought I saw someone new for a second. Sorry. I was getting ready to say hi. So that day, just some crazy synchronicities that happened. Okay, I'm just going to tell you guys, I downloaded Twitter. Someone was encouraging me to get back onto Twitter. All right, and I can't get my old account back because, first of all, I don't even remember what the sign-in was. And I was like, let's just start a new Twitter, right? Well, Aurora Diamond Heart is too long of a name for Twitter. Okay, too long of a name for Twitter. So I made a new screen name, and it was Aurora Diamond, and I picked 77. Aurora Diamond 77. And the reason I picked 7 is because 77 is because, you know, sevens are my favorite number. And besides the fact that, I just always loved sevens growing up. I was telling a friend, actually, I was like, I remember when I was like, I think I was 9, 8 or 9. I remember the only times table that I learned was for the sevens. And I remember going up to my teacher and like saying it off to him like really, really quick. Like I was so proud of myself, that I memorized all these sevens. So sevens have just been like throwing themselves at me lately. And so then I'm going and I'm doing my research on Chinese fairies. I'm like, I need to know like what is the history of them? Uh, what are they? What exactly are they? And so I went through a couple different. I Googled it, right? I went and I started reading a couple different articles and stuff, and they weren't that helpful. They were listing some fairies. They were like, here's some of them from legend, like here's 9 different fairies, and it was like really complicated, like long names and everything, and they were all male. And because that's the thing, for Chinese fairies, you can be male or female, right? And I'm going to explain a little bit more about what I think they are, because all these Chinese dramas that I watch, they're always like I absolutely love them because they go over not only the spiritual life of being in these other realms. Okay, they always have 3 realms. It seems like they always have a heaven realm. Okay, they have the demon realm, and then they have the mortal realm. Okay, and the mortal realm is where the mortal beings they go and they have their hardships in order to learn things, in order to cultivate their spirit. Okay, so I go and I'm looking this up, and I come across this website, and I'm just going to read you guys the very first one. I knew I'd hit it. I knew, I was like, oh, boom, this is me right here. This is me. Okay, so God help me, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name. Okay, so it just says exploring the mythological fairies of ancient China, 5 famous folklore figures, which I believe, legends and myths, they have their origins in something that is true. That's just what I believe. You don't have to believe that, but that's what I believe. And so the first thing that it says, the first one, okay, that it comes up with, it says there are several mythological fairies in ancient Chinese folklore. Here are 4 well-known ones. All right, the first one they mentioned, her name is, I'm going to say it's Shinu. I'm not sure. Okay. It says also known as the Weaving Maid. So right there, we got weaving in there. And if y'all know, I do light weaving. So I'm already like, okay, wow, that's a synchronistic hit right there. Okay. Also known as Vega Shinu, which Vega to me is very special as well, because Vega, the star, Vega, all right, was one of the first, well, it was the first. It was the first star that I ever really connected with and was talking to me, like communicating with me. Now, what does that look like for me when the star is talking to me? Well, I can feel it connect into me. Okay. I was like looking up at the star one day, and I was like, oh my God, the star is like, it's shouting at me, and my second ex-husband was there picking up our children, and he knows the stars really, really well. And I was like, do you know what star that is? It's like super bright. And he's like, that's Vega. That's Vega of the constellation Lyra, which Lyra has always been very special to me too, because it's a musical instrument, the lyra. Okay. And that was what comes from one of my favorite mythological stories, Orpheus and Eurydice. Okay. So I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So that's Vega. And it connected with me. And I've had other stars do this with me since then. And it's like a bunch of streams of light. It just looks like a bunch of pulsating streams of light coming at me in just a really unique and unusual way. And so as I'm reading this, okay, about this fairy, the Weaving Maid, also known as the Vega fairy, she falls in love with a mortal herdman named, I can't even pronounce his name. They marry and have children, but are separated by the goddess of heaven because their love is forbidden. However, they are allowed to meet once a year on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month. when magpies form a bridge over the Milky Way for them to cross. Which magpies are just another family member of the crows and the ravens and such like that. So I was like, wow. I was like, this is it. Yeah, this is why I've been having such a hard time and struggling with trying to download information on Irish fairies and stuff like that, because as a tall fairy being, I'm actually a Chinese fairy being. Okay, so, and from what I gathered from the other things that I was reading and just from the shows themselves, it's like when a person or a spirit, okay, who are into Tao, Buddhism, and Confucianism. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Basically, they cultivate their spiritual energy until eventually they get promoted. Okay, it's like basically ascending slowly, like raising your vibrational level. Fairies is just one vibrational level of all the different vibrations that you could have. And apparently it's one step under immortal. Okay. So this hit home for me really good because my soul braid walk-in, when they came to me and they told me they could help me. And they asked me if I wanted to bond with them, basically merge with them, with my permission. They told me after I asked them back, I said, like, what happens to Cassandra if we become one? And they said, we will go on together forever as one being because we are immortal. All right. And sorry, I got thrown off there a little bit from the chat. Cool for sure. And so I realized I've already accomplished this task. Okay. I'm a fairy being right now, but I'm on my way to that vibrational frequency of the immortals, because I truly believe that soul braid walk-in that came to me was a future version of me. All right, that came back to help me, that saw that there was something going on with my timeline maybe, or just the fact that I had the intention, such a strong intention in asking for help in order to heal from the trauma that I had been through, so that way I could be the best example, the best version of myself for my children. Because my daughter, especially, I knew being pregnant with a girl and being a woman myself and seeing how I went out there and I basically mimicked my own mother's life. I went out there and I made the same types of choices. I thought they were my own choices. But, when I went back and I reflected on it, I realized, wow, I really did do like the exact same things that she was doing, even though I said, I'm never going to be like my mom. No, I'm not going to do that. You know how kids are, And so I realized, I really need to step it up, because this little girl, what the example I give her, she's going to go out there and she's going to be that thing. So I better make sure that it's good. And I did not know how to get on that track at the time, because at the time I was in a really dark phase of my life where I was addicted to drugs and living in my mom and dad's house. I had all these kids. I didn't know how I was going to get off of all this. And slowly but surely, my soul braid walk-in, they helped me. I hear, excuse me for a second, because I do hear some people outside my door, and I'm just hoping that they don't bust in, because I know my daughter and my son are coming home here soon. So if I have to take a moment for a second, just please pardon that. So let's okay. Let's get back on track here, though. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about, because a friend of mine here asked me for a refresher, basically. He asked me if I had already talked about this before. And I have, but I think we should go over it. And it's my most important dream that I ever had. Okay. The one that told me so much about myself. All right. I knew it because it was one of those dreams that you just don't forget. Okay. I've only had 2 dreams really where I felt like the light of God came in and spoke to me directly and clarified some things, explained some things to me. And so here's the dream. Here's what happened. I was in a group of 5 people, 5 beings. Okay. I was a warrior adventurer. Okay. That was how, the energy that I took away from it when I woke up the next day. This is what came out of me. Okay. I'll just never forget it. And that's why I call it my most important dream, because I've had things line up since then where they have given me the synchronicities that I know that I need to have confirmations. All right. So I was in a group of 5 people, and we were chasing a storm. It was a ball. Okay. It was a big one. It was pink, had like pink energy, and this black goo that was kind of like shape shifting inside of it. All right. And we were chasing it into this valley where there were limestone mountains all around the valley. And they very much reminded me of the limestone mountains in China. Like that was my first impression was this was China. These were the limestone mountains that I know and I've studied in China. And here it comes. I'm doing a live stream right now, guys. Okay, they're not coming. All right, they stopped. So I was with my companions. Okay, we were chasing this storm, and the storm went down into the valley, and I started to slide on a rope, a silver rope. All right, and it zoomed out a little bit so I could see what I looked like. I could see the clothes I was wearing and everything. I had bleach blonde hair, and it was in a French braid. Like it looked like the Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. Okay, Daenerys Stormborn. Okay, so she had the hair of Daenerys Stormborn, and I was wearing an outfit that looked like the outfit of Ruby Roundhouse in Jumanji. All right, so this told me some things about myself. Like this was years and years ago. Okay, like years ago. So later on, when I became a dancer and things in a light weaver, so to speak, like it made sense. I was like, okay. So I slid down into this storm on this silver cord. I don't know if my companions went into the storm with me. I don't. I just know that I went into this storm. And when I did, it sealed. This ball sealed all around me. And I was absolutely devastated. And I cried. I remember just crying my eyes out, bawling. I just stopped, and I was in one spot. And I knew in my heart that this was the risk that I took. Like this is the dream is telling me this. Like this was the risk I took coming into this storm, was that it could do this and it was going to trap me. And it did. It trapped me. And I was absolutely in anguish over not being able to be with my companions. That was the hard part, is that I felt it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the grief, the despair. I can almost feel it now just talking about it. And everywhere I turned, everywhere I looked, the black goo that was inside that storm ball shapeshifted. And it took on various forms of just hideous monsters and things of that nature. And I wanted to try and move, and I got up and I put what I thought was my hand. I put it into the black goo over here on the side, and I tried to go through it like a wall. And what it reminded me of is the movie Ghost. Okay, if you guys, most of you, I'm sure you've seen the movie Ghost. When he first goes through the door for the first time, and it's like kind of scary for him, and he puts his hand in the door and he leans into it, and it sucks him in, and then he sees all the grains of fiber of the wood and everything like that, and then he pops out the other side. And so I was attempting to do this, and I pushed my hand through this black goo, and it pulled me through, and I made it to the other side of this, but there was still more everywhere. It was everywhere I looked. But I still felt like a little bit accomplished. I moved a little bit, and I pushed through this black goo. And that was when the light came in. That was when the light above my head came in behind me, and God spoke to me. And God said, "Little did she know, Everything she feared, she created. And it would only take her millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of years to figure this out. It would only take her that long. Okay. I took that as like what, like 5 million years? But they said millions. They kept saying millions. And eventually I took it to mean 500 million. So I knew I got trapped here in this ball, all right, for 500 million years. And he said it would only take me that long to figure out that everything I feared I created. And once I figured that out, okay, the storm dissipated and I was reunited with my companions. And I knew, like, this is that time. Okay, the storm is dissipating. Things are changing. That is for sure. But I never forgot it. I never forgot that dream. And it's kind of funny now, considering I'm getting ready to talk about the book, The Art of Dreaming, because I actually almost have a couple more ideals on what this actually was now. A little bit afraid to even think it, but because I will tell you, this book fucked me up. This book fucked me up right good. It was super creepy, super good. I listened to it actually on audiobook. It took me 2 days. I got through it. It was a 10-hour audiobook. And I couldn't stop listening to it. So, but before we get into that book, okay, I want to go over Doctor Who, the Doctor Who series that I'm continuing. All right. And we're talking about the episode called Listen. Okay. And the reason I like this episode so much, all right, is because it goes into a time paradox. Okay. And this time paradox is called a bootstrap paradox. Okay. So I don't even know if I'm going to really get into much of the details of the show, the actual episode, as much as, because I feel like if I tell the very beginning of it, the example that the doctor gives, it kind of just gives it away. It kind of gives the whole plot of the rest of the episode away. It's kind of interesting, though. We'll see. Let's see how I feel as we go through this. So the bootstrap paradox goes something like this. Okay. The doctor, he basically narrates at the very beginning, and he says, let's say you're someone who loves the music of Mozart. Okay, you love the music of Mozart so much, all right, that you decide, and you have access to time travel technology. Okay, so you decide, since you love Mozart so much, you're going to take all the music, okay, all the sheets of music that he ever wrote. All right, you have them. And you're going to go back in time and you're going to have him like autograph, right? You're going to have him autograph these music sheets. And so you travel back in time to the place that you knew that he was living at, and everything's right? You get there and you start asking around, where is Mozart? Where's Mozart? No one's ever heard of him. And they're like, what? You're freaking out. Like, what do you mean no one's ever heard of him? Well, it just so happens, though, that you have all of his music with you that you were going to have autographed. Okay. So naturally, in order to keep the music that you love alive, what do? Well, you go ahead and you yourself find a person to play these songs, or you become that person yourself. You become Mozart and you start playing those songs. Okay. Now, so was Mozart ever even real? Like, what happened there? That's the bootstrap paradox. It's almost like, it makes me think of what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Okay. So in this particular episode of Doctor Who, I will go into some more of it because I love Doctor Who and Clara and the adventures that they go on. Okay. Because it does bring up some other things too that are very interesting. Okay. So in this particular episode, Clara and the doctor has lots of time alone because Clara, she only travels with them periodically. She's not like the previous companions where the previous companions basically live with the doctor and they go on these adventures together. Okay, but Clara comes and goes because she's got a job to maintain. She's got responsibilities. So the doctor, needing to know everything, that he just cannot stand a mystery, he comes up with this idea. He's like, what if there was a creature, okay, a being, an entity that was so good at hiding. It's kind of like the adaptations that certain predators and prey, how they adapt in order to stay hidden or to be better predators and stuff like that. So like, what if there's a being whose sole job is just to hide from the perception? Hi there, Miss White Swan. Glad to see you. What if there's a being that's there, that their sole intention is just to stay hidden, and they have all this time to evolve this ability to stay hidden, right? Okay, so something's on the doctor's mind. Something's driving him a little bit nuts. And so he picks Clara up because, he's like, I need help figuring out what, is there possibly a being like this that is so good at hiding that even I don't know of its existence. All right. And she at the time is actually on a date with the boyfriend that they give her in the show named Danny Pink, okay, who is a soldier. All right. And their date wasn't going so well. So the doctor comes and he picks her up and he's like, well, he'll never even know you were gone. You went to the bathroom. He'll never even know you're gone. Let's just go on this trip real quick. Okay. And so they go into the TARDIS and he hooks Clara up to the TARDIS, the telepathic interface of the TARDIS. And he says, I need you to focus. I need you to focus on some part of your childhood, a moment in time where you were afraid. He said, let's go with the idea of everyone's afraid of something under the bed when they're young, right? Everyone has that fear that there's some monster that's under the bed. So he said, think about a time when you were younger, when you were afraid, and the TARDIS will connect to that, and it'll take us back to that spot, that point in time. Well, she just was having this bad date experience, so she really couldn't keep her focus on herself, and she ended up thinking about her date, Danny Pink. And so what happened? Well, it took them back into his time, at a time when he was afraid as a child of something under the bed. And you come to find out that Danny Pink actually grew up in an orphanage, and she goes up to comfort him because he's like, I can't sleep. Okay, I'm afraid there's something under the bed. And so Clara's comforting him. Okay, and the doctor comes in too, and he's like, there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, there's nothing under the bed. Let's go ahead and look. So they go ahead and they look under the bed. And as they're looking under the bed, they see the bed start to divot down. And they jump up, okay? And now there is a being of sorts, or we don't really ever find out. It could have been like a person, you would think, right? Like that's what they want to think, okay? It just rises up from under the blanket and just stays with the blanket on it. Okay, something inside the doctor says this is very dangerous. So he says, all right, don't look at it. Just don't even look at it. And they all turn and they face the window, and and Clara's like, what is that, doctor? And he's like, I don't know, but I get the feeling that it's something dangerous and it's something that we're not supposed to be seeing. So don't look at it. And so they don't. And he tries to distract little Danny because Danny is a child. And eventually he does. And he keeps talking to the other being as well as they're facing. He's like, just go ahead and go. We're not going to talk about you. We're not going to tell anyone of your existence. Just don't do anything to us and just go ahead and leave. And after a few moments, the being does leave and takes the blanket with him. And Danny's a little bit upset about that. But now they got to comfort Danny and they got to put him back to bed. And so Clara gives him a little soldier guy. There was a little carton of toys. And so she pulls out these little soldiers. And the most important one is the one without the gun, the one that has a walkie-talkie in his hand. And she says, this will be your special guy. And so Danny calls him Dan the Soldier Man. Okay. And so later on, so she's like, okay, problem solved. Doctor and Clara get back in the TARDIS and they leave. And they go back to he takes Clara back to the date, basically. And so she walks back into the date and she's like, let's try this again, And so they have a pretty good time, right? Okay. But then something happened. The doctor was off traveling, doing more research on this. And so he goes and he picks Claire up again. He's like, we need to go into the future. We need to do this again because I've still not satisfied my curiosity to know, is this being real? Are these entities real? Okay. So now he's going to take her to the end of the universe, the end of time itself. Okay, and they do. Hi, hero, nice to see you. And so she rehooks up with the interface, and they go forward. And because the doctor doesn't know that the reason they went to Danny's past was because she was on this date with him, and she couldn't focus, and so they went to the wrong place. So now they go all the way into the future, all the way till the end of time, to see what is left. Are there any beings left? All right, and they find one. And it happens to be a man named Orson Pink, which is a relative of Danny Pink. Okay, now Orson was like supposedly the first time traveler that humans were able to send, although he was only supposed to go a week ahead, but they made a mistake in the calculations and they sent him to the end of time, to the end of time. And so thank God that the TARDIS picked up Orson's signal, all right, because otherwise he would have been trapped. They get there, and wouldn't you know it, Orson has the little Dan the Soldier Man, the little soldier that has been passed down in his family, he said. And so they stick around for a little bit, but the thing is that Orson knows that there's something, that there is some kind of entity or some kind of being that is around, even though there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be possible, because at nighttime, when things go dark and the night lights turn on, all right, he hears knocks at the door outside of the shuttle. All right, so they really keep this one a mystery. Okay, we never get to see this being, but that's really the whole point of it, is that it's supposed to be something that is evolved to never be seen, to be the ultimate hider, right? Okay, yeah. So now let's see, we got through that part. All right, so now they get back in the TARDIS. All right, she goes and she takes Orson back to his time, and she figures out that the whole reason that Dan, her new boyfriend, Danny Pink, the whole reason that he even became a soldier was because of that moment when she went back into his past and gave him that little Dan the Soldier Man. All right. And also the doctor gave a speech to him, basically. He gave a speech basically saying, everyone has fears. Okay. Everyone does. But, fear can sometimes be like a superpower, because fear gets your adrenaline pumping, it gets your mind thinking, it gets you ready to fight or flight, right? And so therefore you can come up with like other types of ideals that you wouldn't normally come up with if you hadn't been put into that stress state. Okay. And so at the very last part of the episode, they try one more time to go find this being, okay, whatever this monster under the bed, so to speak. Okay. And so they travel. He's like, well, let's try it one more time. Okay. So they travel one more time, and now it takes them back to the doctor's childhood. All right. And the doctor actually doesn't get out of the TARDIS first. First, it is Clara. She gets out and she finds that they're in this barn, and she recognizes this barn. This barn is the same barn that the war doctor had to go to right before he destroyed Gallifrey. He pressed this button, and it was this catastrophic event that ended the time war between the Daleks and the Time Lords. And she recognizes it. And the doctor, as a child, he comes into the barn. So she hurries up and she hides under the bed. Okay, she hides under the bed because she's like, oh, snap. I can't have him see me here. I'm not even supposed to be here, and I'm interfering with his timeline now, so to speak. And so when she goes to leave, or when he goes to sit down on the bed, right? He's like, I know, the child doctor says, like, I know someone is there, and I'm going to call someone for help if you don't show yourself right now. And she grabs a hold of his ankle, like, don't do that, basically. Okay. And she's like, please just lay down in the bed. She tells him, all right, don't look at me. Just lay down in the bed. All right. Which the whole thing was like, this is where the doctor's fear came from, of monsters under the bed. This is what started the whole thing for him, was him thinking about this moment. Okay. Was there really a being underneath the bed? Well, in this case, there was. It was Clara. Okay. And all this stuff happened all because of him thinking at the beginning of the episode, like, does this creature even exist? But how are you following me, guys? It's like The whole reason that he went into this mystery was because Clara grabbed his leg at this point in time, and she gave him a talking to, basically. All right. But that only happened, they only went to there because of the mystery. Okay. Like, so she basically ends up giving him the same speech that the doctor gave Danny when he was afraid, when they first went and visited him as a little boy. All right. And she basically says something that I thought was really beautiful and is kind of going to connect to the next part of what I'm talking about, which is the art of dreaming. Okay. And she says, fear makes companions of us all, because we all experience it. We all have fears, and those are some of the things that are going to help drive us forward in figuring out who we are and what we're doing and where we want to go in life, so to speak. And so there's the Bootstrap Paradox right there. What happened first? What happened first? We have the doctor wanting to solve this mystery because of this incident that happened when he was a child. Okay. Then we have Danny Pink, who, when Clara is dating him in the future, he's a soldier. The only reason he became a soldier was to overcome those fears that he had when he was a child, that he was, guided by Clara back then to be brave like a soldier. Okay. So that influenced him to choose to be a soldier. Okay. Like, how would we know if time doesn't work how we think it works and it's more like a circle? Okay. And time travel is possible in some way, even with just consciousness itself. Okay. How would we ever know if we decide to go back and start healing things, right? How would we even know? We would just suddenly, we would just always be who we thought, who we are now. We would always just be that thing. This is like a thing I ponder all the time. I try to figure this out all the time. I'm like, how does this work? But I think maybe some things aren't meant to be understood completely by the human mind. Okay. So that is the episode of Listen of Doctor Who season 8, I believe it was. So you can look that up and watch that if you want. Highly recommend it. It's really good episode. All right. And you don't have to have watched all the previous episodes. That's the good thing about Doctor Who, is that yes, the lore builds on top of itself, but there are also episodes that you can watch that you don't have to have any previous knowledge of the Doctor Who series in order to enjoy it. So I highly recommend checking that out. Okay, let's see. So now we can get on to the most exciting part of today's information, which was the book by Carlos Castenada, The Art of Dreaming. There were so many things Spirit was telling me the entire time I was listening to this book. I was blown away by all the examples that all the different little pieces of shows or movies that they were able to throw at me, like, okay, as I'm listening to it, and like to understand the concepts of it. Okay, like sevens were showing up too. Again, there's apparently 7 gates of the dreaming. Okay. And where do I even begin? This book really creeped me out because some part of it felt like information that I had forgotten. A lot of it felt that way. All right. And so Carlos Castaneda basically was taught by this guy named Don Juan, okay, who he was the apprentice of this medicine man, a sorcerer, okay, who was also trained by other sorcerers, all right, who called himself a Nugual. Okay. He obviously taught him way more than this, but this particular book, it was just focusing on the dreaming aspect. All right. So for the first portion of it, he was really trying to get through the part of dreaming where it was about focusing your attention. It's all about your attention and your intention. Okay. Like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish in these realms, right? Because when you slip into dreams, you are slipping into other realms. That is what makes the spirit possible to go travel these other places, having an energetic body. Okay, and he goes and they explain all this. So I highly recommend listening to this book or reading this book, because I literally could not stop. Like I said, it was a 10-hour audiobook and I listened to it in 2 days. I could not stop. I literally woke up just like, I have to finish it. I have to know what happened to this person. You know, like there was a woman there that he was working with named Carol Tiggs. At the end of it, like I don't even know what happened to her, and I want to so bad. That's the thing. It's like, what happened to Carol? I just want to know what happened to her. Did she become a new, like the dream version of her became like the real version of her now? I don't even know. It's freaking me out. So he basically started going to other realms. All right, but in order to go to these other realms, he had to face, and I hadn't even put this concept, inorganic beings. Okay, so there's like organic beings, right? And then there's inorganic beings, which I guess are a lot more stationary and like ancient, basically ancient. And here's the thing about even talking about this. I want to be able to do justice to these topics. So it's hard for me to even get it all lined up. You know what I'm saying? To even to know what to mention or what to even bring up and what to talk about and what not. So I'm going to talk to you basically about the different shows and the different movies that they basically compared these things to. Okay. So they compared it to 3 different movies. All right. They compared it to Coraline, the kids movie Coraline. Okay. They compared it to some of the stuff to Inception, the movie Inception. And there was one more, and I hope I can remember that by the time we get through these other 2. So Coraline, His Dark Materials. That was the other one. This is absolutely fascinating. Okay, Don Juan basically was teaching that our world is like an onion. There's different layers. There's different worlds, okay, that are separated by these borders, so to speak. And Spirit showed me basically the show His Dark Materials, which gets into traveling to other dimensions, other worlds, and in the exact same way. They talk about it in the exact same way. It's like a long bar, okay, and all these different worlds have all these different layers, and there's a special, the main character in His Dark Materials, he has it's called the subtle knife. All right, and the subtle knife is magic. All right, where you can cut through with your intention. Again, you have to have focus and intention. All right, which was a very prominent theme in this book. So you have to cut in to the layer of the dimension of reality, so to speak. I don't even know what the word would be for it. And you were able to travel. The main character was able to travel, make holes, windows is what they call them, into these other realms, where things were just completely different. Okay, there was so many different. Some things were same, right? Some things were the same, and some things were different. All right, and then he would have to go and he'd have to seal them up afterward. He would have to seal up the holes or the windows or the doors, if you want to call them that. All right, in order to prevent other people from just haphazardly walking through it into these other universes. Okay, so that was the first example that they gave me about, and I'm really feeling like with all of these, it's like we're all saying the same type of stuff, just in different ways. These stories, they're telling us different things about our reality, just in a little bit different ways. Okay, so for Coraline, okay, and that was one of the other ways to get into the next realm. All right, in the dream. All right, when you're dreaming, this is what Don Juan was suggesting. In the dream, once you are able to have awareness to the point where you were able to focus on your hands first, okay, and then to be able to focus on an item or an object. And when you're able to focus on these items or objects, okay, it will like suck you in and portal you into another realm, into the next realm, okay. And so the thing that they showed me then after that was the movie Coraline. Okay, so if you know about Coraline, okay, and oh gosh, and those inorganic beings. This was it was like a scary book when it came to talking about these inorganic beings. I'll be real with you guys. Okay, so it very much reminded me of Coraline, because what happened with Coraline? Well, Coraline was a little girl who was dissatisfied with her normal life, and it just so happened that she woke up one night and she saw this little mouse that was out of character for being in her room. Okay, and she followed this mouse, and this mouse took her to a door in her house. Okay, which when unlocked, a light tunnel appeared. All right. And it took her to another version of her own house. And in this other version of her house, there was another mother. Okay. Which was, and another father. But the first person to greet her was this other mother, which basically took the shape of her own mom, only she had button eyes. And they gave her everything that she wanted, all the attention that she wasn't getting from her normal life, all the food that she wanted to eat, that she, all the clothing that she wanted, all the things. It was basically, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like giving her everything she wants. But there's a catch. That's the thing. There was a catch. And at the end, we find out that the catch was that the other mother wanted her to let her sew buttons into her eyes, which essentially would be the equivalent of taking her soul. Okay. Which, nice for a children's movie, right? Okay. Whatever. I love that movie, though. I won't even deny I love that movie. So one of the other things that they were getting into in The Art of Dreaming was how after he crossed the first gate and then he got to I think it was the second one that he got through, then these beings started, he started sensing and perceiving these entities, which were the inorganic beings. He said that all organic beings showed up as spheres or bells. I think there was one other shape, but I can't really remember right now, right off the top of my head. Okay. But these inorganic beings showed up as like candle flames, like candle wicks. Okay. And they weren't, and the thing is the more attention that you gave them, that was what was going to draw them more towards you too. Okay. And so they would basically start giving you information, okay, power, things of that you wanted or that you sought after, but it came at a cost. Okay. And the cost was giving up your own energy. And eventually they were trying to convince you to do what? To stay in their world, just like in Coraline. Okay, that was what the other mother wanted, was to keep Coraline in her world. And that's basically the purpose of these inorganic beings, which they don't lie. The thing is about the inorganic beings is they don't lie. They can't lie. They have a main speaker that they call the emissary. Okay, which I guess people who are familiar with this type of dreaming style, so to speak, everyone comes across when you reach that second gate. Like you'll have, and so they'll tell you great things. They'll tell you great truths. But eventually they because they're so ancient, because they know so much, they're able to set up traps for you. Okay. And at one point, he did get set up into a trap they lured him with a scout, that's the other thing. There's where Inception came in. Inception came in for two different things, actually. The movie Inception came in because there are dreams within dreams. Like he, at one point, Don Juan guided him to, all right, I want you to go ahead and fall asleep into your dream. And once you realize that you're in your dream, fall asleep in that dream and go like a layer deeper, right? Okay, because there are these things called scouts. This is how he was able to teleport to the realm of the inorganic beings. Was he started noticing that there would be an object that would just not make any sense for the dream that he was in. And this object would shapeshift, all right, until it turned into nothing. Because the thing is that his attention, his awareness of this object that was not a part of a normal dream that he would have, once it was aware of you, all right, it would try to leave. All right. And they refer to these things, like I said, as scouts. And it very much reminded me of, if you've seen the movie Inception, about when they were when they shared a dream, when two people shared a dream, whoever was the main person dreaming, the one building the architecture of the places that they were at. Okay. Once the other person, the foreign energy, once the other people that were in the main person's dream, once they took notice of that other foreign energy, they would attack it, right? And they would attack it and they would kill it. All right. So that's what these scouts kind of reminded me of. It's basically a foreign energy and interfering with your dream space, right? But that's also how you get to their realm. right? Apparently the ancient sorcerers, the Naguals and stuff like that of ancient times, they knew this, and this is where they got a lot of their information. This is where they got a lot of their power, their gifts of power. But it always came at a cost, and the cost was that they want those inorganic beings and such wanted to keep those people there. Okay, so the scouts. So for the scouts part, once Carlos started noticing these scouts, and what you had to do was you had to voice your intention to go with it. Intention is so powerful. I'm not that I didn't know this already, but I just think it deserves reiterating. Intention is so powerful. Oh, what? A Merkaba. Okay. Like your traveling ship, so to speak. Sorry, I got a little bit, probably a little bit behind on where you said that at. Sorry about that, Marcus. But yeah. So yeah, and Coraline did think that was a perfect place. She thought it was until she realized that the other mother wanted to take possession of her soul, so to speak. So the scouts, voicing the intention to the scouts that you wanted to travel with them to their realm was what allowed that to even happen. All right. And then there were several points where he got so far in the different dream spaces, okay, or the different passing through the different gates, that he was even able to go to a world completely different, all right, but looked similar to ours, but he knew, he could tell it was not our world. And it just, and Don Juan went back to talking about the onion metaphor. So there are layers upon layers upon layers of different universes and different worlds, and the realm of the inorganic beings is just one of them. And it's just the one that we have to be the most cautious of, right? It's the one we have to be most wary about. And I felt it. It chilled me to the bone reading this, hearing this book, all right, hearing them talk about that and how dangerous it was. But there was one other thing that I wanted to mention about that, and I'm trying to remember where it just went, because I want to pull it back. It kind of zipped off for a second. So, oh yeah. And then Carlos was able to teach Don Juan, actually, because Don Juan didn't want to have anything to do with the inorganic beings. And the thing about them is that you can make allies of them. That was what the old sorcerers did. They made allies with these inorganic beings, but you still always had to be on guard. All right, even though they were allies, like they could help you, okay? But you had to be on guard. Okay, hold on. Oh, I had it for a second, and now it's like floating away again. We're going to get it back. Hold on a second. Yeah, at one point, in order to gain the ally, the friend, not even a friendship, the relationship between him and Carlos and this inorganic being, like in order to form it, he had to stand up to it. He had to get rid of all of his fear. Okay, which was really quite refreshing, actually. All throughout the book, he talked about his fears and how he was really feeling about this, and it made me feel like, oh wow, so it is normal to have these fears when you go into meditations. Like, I've been pulled out of my body before, astrally, for an astral projection. I've done it a couple times. All right, I remember one night I just was doing it all night long. I kept getting sucked out of my body, pushed back in, sucked back out. It's like I was testing it. Every time I did, I was going through this tunnel. Okay, and that's the other thing. Okay, the inorganic beings realm apparently is tunnels shaped. There's a bunch of, that's what they look like. They're a bunch of tunnels. Okay, and it made me think, like, shit, have I been here before? Like, have I been there before? I don't even know. And don't let me forget the assemblage point. I want to talk about that in a second. So yeah, and again, so that was why I brought up, they brought up Coraline, was because the tunnel she went through, that's supposedly what it looks like to go through, to meet those inorganic beings, is to go through these tunnels. Okay. Yeah. Very, very creepy. Very, very dangerous. Like, I did not realize how valuable the soul is and energy is to beings that won't have our best intentions, won't have our best interests, is what I mean. The best interest at heart. They could have their own agenda, their own motivation. But one of the things that Carlos taught even Don Juan, because Don Juan didn't want to have anything to do with those inorganic beings, because he didn't want to have anything to do with what the ancient sorcerers did and how they did things, and how they ended up, how they were basically taught things that were or the gifts of power that they got, they had to exchange terrible things for them. And he taught them that there was actually the shadow realm. Okay, he said there was actually a shadow realm, and this made me automatically think of all the times that people, because I've always been so curious about shadow beings, where they come from, the Hat Man. You know what I'm saying? Like, where the hell do these things originate from? And I'm starting to think maybe Carlos was touching on the place, the home, the birthplace, or whatever it is of these beings, because if you ever watch any ghost shows or anything like that, for me it was the Dead Files. The Dead Files taught me a lot when it came to the shadow beings and what their purpose here is, and what are they doing. And it's not usually very good. They seem to be, and they actually refer to them as like scout beings, okay, from this other realm. So again, like, this is real stuff here. Like, this is, now I'm like, these are like the true mysteries of the universe that we're living in. And so the last thing that I'm going to get into, and then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to go to the tarot readings, okay, is the fact that, okay, yes. Oh, man. Oh, I'm getting a little bit thrown off here. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with me. Okay. The last part of it that I really wanted to get into, like, it's scary to even talk about this stuff for me, guys. I'm like, I don't want to attract any attention from any of these things out there. I'm like, I just want to think about it. The assemblage point. That was what it was. Okay. So you're saying that our perception comes through a point located between our shoulders, right, on our back. And the entire time as I'm listening to him describe this thing, I can't even listen to books without actually feeling it anymore. It feels like, even, and I've been listening to some of the other books now too by Carlos Castenada. And when he's talking about all these crazy psychedelic trips that he has and stuff like that, I'm like feeling it with him. I'm almost like, I can't even hardly listen to it because it's almost like making me feel the same exact way here. So they started talking about how our assemblage point and where that is located on our field, right? That is what creates our perception, or allows us to perceive a certain layer of things. Okay. And basically, like, all of humanity has a shared assemblage point that has in a fixed place, that's what makes the world that we see today perceivable. Okay. And it's only when you shift that assemblage point that you're able to perceive new layers, I guess you could say. New, I don't even know if there's another word that I can describe to use to describe this right now. I apologize if I'm tripping over my words here, guys, but this book tripped me up, okay? Because I'm like, aha, that's what happened. That's what happened to me all those years ago. Like, my assemblage point, it moved to a new place over here, up a little bit. And as I'm listening to this book, I've noticed now, it seems like when I get into this meditative state of listening and I'm driving, I can only tell when it happens because when it's nighttime. That's the only time I can tell this is happening. But it's like a light shines in over top of me right here. And I keep looking up to see, I'm like, is my light on? Like, do I have my car light on the, like, because it's pitch black. My car is fully tinted out, so it's even darker. It's like a fucking coffin inside when I'm driving around. And I'll be driving, and I'm like really into whatever it is that I'm doing, like, and I keep seeing this light. This light is shining on my perception, and I keep looking back up. And look, no, it's not there. And so as I'm listening to this book, I'm like, that's my perception right there. That's how my perception has changed from this assemblage point moving. Okay. And I think that, and this is just coming to me just now, like, groups of us, even if we are able, like, maybe that's the reason that some of us connect more in these, like, tribe, like the conferences that we go to and stuff. Maybe there's these groups of us that have moved our assemblage points to the similar places, so that we're able to perceive these outer worldly things that we wouldn't normally be able to perceive. And if you ever seen the book or the movie The Secret, which was a real big popular movie back then, way back when, at this point, they gave this example of the American Indians, okay, when Christopher Columbus or whoever it was came over here. Okay, one of the first things that they said was that they couldn't even see the ships because they had no concept of what a ship even looked like. Okay, so it was supposedly reported that they couldn't even see it. There were some of them that couldn't even see it, but those who had a higher enough awareness, their perception was able to see the ship. All right, and when they were able, and because of that, they were able to share that vibration, so to speak, or whatever, with other people and say and be like, no, look, that's a ship out there. They wouldn't call it a ship, obviously. They were just like, that there's a thing out there in the water. Can you see it? And it makes sense to me now how some people can literally not see the same things that maybe we can, like certain different people can see. And I had another confirmation of this through Jessica Jones. I was listening to a podcast with her on Rise of the Flying Chariots. Oh God, forgive me if I got that YouTube channel wrong. But I was listening to her talk about it, and she was saying that she was watching her son. Her husband was videotaping her young son playing, and they were talking about orbs. Okay. And so she said she came into the room and she could see all these little orbs, and her son could see all these little orbs floating around him. And he was like laughing and giggling and like trying to play with them. But the husband, he couldn't see the orbs. He couldn't see them. He could see them through the camera of the video that he was taking of his son, but he couldn't see it. So it makes me think that some of us have been attuned to be able to perceive these other subtler energies, these other frequencies, and they're coming to us, and we're doing our best. Our mind is doing its best to comprehend what it is, to put it to fit somehow logically into some preconceived notion that we already have, something that we've already learned, right? Because everything is just energy. Everything is energy. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about that. It's tripping me out. I was just like connecting so many of these dots. Yeah. It's a lot of stuff to think about. I'll go ahead and I'm going to look at the chat real quick since I just went on a rant for that. All right. Oh, that might have been the shape I was searching for. Yes. Set a fire in my soul. Absolutely love that screen name. Absolutely. Yes. Spirit knows things of spirit. Agreed. Okay. Yes. So, hi, Hope. Yes. And that's not the first time that I've had that happen, but it's definitely been very much more prominent lately. I mean, so I feel like we're perceiving something. We're perceiving where the light is coming in. I'm like, maybe the assemblage point is back here, and my back kept hurting too. Like my back kept hurting, but over off and to the left a little bit. And so I'm thinking this is where the light filaments are coming through. Like he also Don Juan explained things a lot of human beings being light filaments. Okay, which I actually have. Sometimes when I view a person, that's exactly what I'm seeing. Is I'm seeing these light filaments inside of them. Okay, and I even had this crazy DMT trip a couple years back where that was what these light beings were doing. They were doing some kind of surgery around my middle here. Okay, where they were, and that's where exactly where Don Juan says that these light filaments go into. It's one of like the most important places on the human body is the navel here, and they were taking out light filaments that had blackened. Okay, they were taking them out, and it actually, when they pulled it out, it came out like a spider being, like a really elementary type style, like looking spider being. Though it was like literally just like a circle with like legs like this. Okay, and it was like inside my body, and they like pulled it out, and it was not fun. I'll tell you that much, and not fun. And now I'm even wondering about that DMT trip. I'm like, did I go to one of these other fucking realms? Is that why it was so fucking scary? And I hated it. I resisted it. I fought it. I did not want to go up. I did not want to leave my body. I felt like it threw me out. I didn't even have a choice once I let go. And then, like I said, there was these these tall beings around me. I'm like, were those even organic beings now? I'm like, were those even, or were those the inorganic beings? Were they taking something? Was there some exchange here that I don't know about? Like, I don't know. I want to know though. I really do. Like, now you guys have set me on a quest. Okay. And so the last thing I'm going to say before we go on to the tarot readings is just that the thing that I think brought me back into alignment with all this new information that is coming to me and unlocking for me about who I am and what I'm doing here. Okay. Nope. They're just reminding me of one more thing. Okay. Yeah. And that was the other thing that I was thinking about too. Did we all somehow end up here together? Did we all travel from some other place? Because that's the thing. When you're going through these different realms, there's been a couple times where it was really dangerous for Carlos and one of his companions, Carol Tiggs. Right, they traveled to a place one time where they ended up in this shack. It was not where they intended to be. They ended up in this shack and they were naked, and there were even clothes there waiting for them. And they followed their intuition. That's the thing. You got to really trust yourself. Okay. They followed their intuition and they did not leave the shack, but they knew if they left the shack that they were going to forget where they came from and not even remember how to get back. Okay. And even Don Juan confirmed this afterward. He was basically like, it's a good thing that you guys are smart enough. And he basically said, don't ever see each other again, because now, our inorganic beings are onto you. And, I don't want them to get both of you, or something along those lines. So, like, did us as a collective consciousness, were we traveling? Were we travelers? Did we go through some portal, or whatever it is you want to call it? Did we come to this place and then our salvage point got fixed and stuck so hard that now we don't even remember where we originally came from? Like, you feel me? My mind's exploding. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. So the last thing I was fitting now we're back to where we were supposed to be. Okay. The last thing that I'm taking away and going to speak on this book about is following your path. There was it was a really, really good piece of advice that I felt like Don Juan kept repeating to Carlos whenever it came to just trying to decide which path to take. Okay. And it was, does this path have heart? Does it have heart? Do you love it? Those are the paths that you're supposed to follow. The ones that make you excited. The ones that you don't have to force and push. Like, there's even if it's work, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you have heart on the path that you're on, work isn't even, it's not. It's enjoyment. So that's the last little piece of that book that I plan on talking about today. I'm going to be thinking about it for a long time. I'm going to be listening to the other books. If anyone wants it, just let me know in the comments section below, and I will post you a link for the audiobook version of The Art of Dreaming. So I hope that made sense to everyone. And I think it's time to go ahead and shake it off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shake it off now. Shake it off. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was, it was a lot. It was a lot, guys. It's got me messed up. It's got me just thinking all sorts of questions. Also, I just have so many questions now. Okay. So, shall we pull the fortune cookie? Should we get to some funner stuff now that I did all that? Now that we talked about all that. Let's do this. Oh, really? You haven't read it? You got them all, Hero, but you haven't read them yet? Oh, see, that was my problem, okay, is that I kept hearing about this book, okay, from multiple places. I kept hearing about this book. And I just kept thinking, how am I ever going to have time to read them? Like, I'm door dashing full time. I'm a mom. It's Christmas time. You know, like there's always something. There's always something that's taking up my time. And that was when I realized, oh snap, there's like so many for free audiobooks on YouTube. Why didn't I just look it up and listen to it? I mean, I'm in my car all day when I'm doing my work. I could just listen to it. I was like, ding, you know? And so I searched it up and I found a list of all of his books. And I've gone through the teachings of Don Juan. I think it's called a separate something reality. What is that one called? There's a second one. Okay. I forget. I'm so mad at myself. I apologize for not remembering the name of this second book. I'm on the fourth book now though. I'm on the fourth book that I'm not the fourth book in the series, but I'm on the fourth book of by him that I'm listening to right now. And I do not know how to pronounce it. It's like, God, guys, I'm terrible with this stuff. I apologize. Say it again. I'm sorry. Highly recommend it. Audiobooks are great. It's so much easier, especially if you're like I said, if you're like me and you have a lot of time while you're working to be able to listen to stuff like this. It's the way to go. So yes. I hear you, Dennis. I hear you. All right, everyone take a deep breath. We shook off some of that craziness. Talking about all those creepy, crazy beings. Okay, so here we go. I'm reaching in. It's time for a fortune cookie for the collective. I need someone to say stop. And I'll grab the first one after I see someone in the chat say stop. Oh, got it. All right. Thank you guys very much. Okay. So let's see. What is the message the collective needs to hear? Channel some magic into this one. Yep. Here we go. All right. All right. Let's hope it's a good one. Let's hope my intention was strong enough to get a good one. It's always kind of nerve-wracking. You never know. Wow. Okay. Patience is one of the hardest virtues to master. Patience. I would definitely agree with that. I definitely have, I fight impatience every day, actually, even when I'm working, you know, like I'm going to pick up orders for people and I get to the restaurant and the order's not ready. And for it to not fuck up my whole day sometimes, like today, I'm just going to rant about my job here for a second. Bear with me. As a DoorDasher, I'd have a hell of a fucking order today where I had to go to the Dollar General. They were only giving me $8.75, but it was for like 2 miles. And a 0.5 mile was getting to the place. But it was 14 items. I know Dollar General pretty well, so I went there. Okay, and I'm like, oh God, please don't let me regret this order. I get there, and all of their items were like I'm not joking, 4 2 liters of Coke, a 2 liter of Diet Dr. Pepper, a 2 liter, 2 liters of Diet Coke, 2, and then they started adding items, 2 gallons of milk, 4 bottles of rubbing alcohol, a case of waters. Now, this normally, okay, fine. I'm like, this is fucked up order. I'm like, cannot believe that this person is only paying me $8.75 to do all of these heavy items. And then to top it off, they were on the second floor of an apartment building. I was like, oh my God. I was so mad. I was like, I was just trying so hard afterward not to let it like mess the rest of my day up because I was just so angry about it, you know? And that just puts me in a funk. I don't like being in that place. And I feel like I'm affecting people's food, you know, like my energy, you know, like in being, because, you know, like the water, the Emoto water experiment, you know what I'm saying? When you put your thoughts and your feelings into water, it takes different shapes. And when you're in a bad energy, when you're in a funky energy, okay, it makes horrible shapes and stuff like that. So I like what I do. I love what I do. All right. And so I don't want to mess with people's items and stuff in this kind of a way. So I'm like trying so hard not to be such a bitch about it, but I was fucking pissed. I was freaking so mad about it. I know they heard me complaining too. I know they heard me complaining because then I dragged it up. I dragged the whole thing up in my bag. I only had to make 2 trips for it. I dragged it up the first flight of stairs and realized that it was apartment 204. Okay. Apartment 201, 202. Where's apartment 204? Oh, it's back down the stairs, through a hallway, and up another set of stairs. So I had to do it again. I was like, oh my God. Ugh. Anyway, so that's just me complaining about my DoorDash. Back to what we're talking about though. So our collective fortune cookie pull for this week is patience is one of the hardest virtues to master. So if you are beating yourself up about being impatient, don't. It's one of the hardest virtues to master. So you'll get there. You would think having 6 kids that I would have it down by now, right? Gotta have patience for them. Gotta have patience for those kiddos. Mm-hmm. And they didn't even offer to come help me take it up. They knew. You know, I thought for sure they would at least, you know, like, hey, let me meet you at the door. No. Nope, gonna make me carry up every single thing by myself. 110 pounds. Carrying up all these freaking liquid items. Wait a second. I see something interesting in my chat section here. So they're trying to make The Rock a presidential candidate. Maui himself. You're welcome. Can you imagine? The Rock. Oh my God. We are living in idiot. What is that? What was that movie called? Idiocracy. We are living in idiocracy. You know, next thing you know, what they're going to be using Gatorade to water our crops and wondering why they don't grow. Absolutely wild. All right, so it's time to turn the tables. It's time to get ready for our collective card pull. All right. Oh boy, you know it takes me a minute. You know I got to really mix up the energies, especially now that now that we went through all that craziness and I've been holding that on me for the past week or so, all this energy from having listened to this book and having all these crazy trippy experiences and Chinese fairies and mortal beings. Fuck. Like getting ready for Christmas. Ugh. I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for Christmas. Could someone please stop? The time is going too fast now at this point. It's going too fast. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get into the zone. Oh, also, I did discover now that the songs that I play for my light weaving on my videos, it does get flagged. I have quite a few of the videos that I played music in. When I go to look at it myself on my list of videos, it says partially blocked. I'm like, partially blocked? Like, it's like, yeah, copyrighted material. So I am getting in trouble for copyright stuff when I play my music and I do my light weaving. Don't know how I'm going to get around something like that. It's a little difficult. Like, I'm going to have to pick, like, what? Some, like, absolutely generic. Like, I guess there are free songs, right? There are songs that they let you use. But those ones don't inspire my heart the same. You know, I need them to inspire my heart the right way. It's the heart inspiration that really gets me going. It gets me creating. All right, everyone focus. Oh, shit. Okay. Everyone focus. Open your hearts up to receiving the message that Spirit has for us. I do humbly request that these tarot cards tell us what we can expect. What message do we need to hear for next week's energies? Okay, one more shuffle and we're good. All right, please. What do we need to expect? Yes, perfect. Okay. What do we need to expect for next week's energies? What's the collective need to know for next week's energies? Oh, I feel so good now. And I've been feeling, I'm just going to say this right off the bat, guys. I have been feeling so in love with life this past week, past 2 weeks. I've been literally just like floating on a cloud, going about living my life. So happy because I feel like I'm really living true to who I am. I'm really living the way I want to, you know, and I'm so happy to be doing so. So I really hope that you guys out there are also following your heart's path, and that you're in alignment with everything is to reveal the best version of yourself, to align you with your timeline of highest love and joy. I really am praying that for you all. Anyone listening? Okay. What do we need to hear? What do we need to hear? What message do we need to hear for next week? Yep. There we go. All right. First one. 4 of Rods. All right. So this is activity time in the home. All right. So there's some actions like, God, this is making me feel like, think of Christmas. It's time to prepare for Christmas. Okay. It's time to take some actions. Perhaps you've done these actions repeatedly, and you just get better and better and better at it, because that's what the action requires, right? Is, you know, anything repeated, you usually get better at. So it's time to enjoy yourself and enjoy your home, the inside of it, with the people that you love. Okay. Or like I said, preparing for Christmas, preparing for the holidays. All right. Also, let's see. You know, it could be something too that you're preparing at the home in order to take out into the world. But either way, this is something that you've gotten really, it could even be between 2 people too. It could be like some kind of a dance, like, and I don't mean like a literal dance. I mean like a give and a take, a back and a forth, something that requires coordination with others. Okay, so it's time to get prepared to coordinate the events and the activities of your home life. Okay, and what's that going to look like? Okay, so let's go ahead and pull the next card and see what the I tell. Oh. Yep. Okay. Yep. Next part of the message. Okay. Yeah. Expand more on this for us. That's the next part of the message. Yes. Okay. All right. We got the Queen of Rods. Okay. So it's time to be brave. It's time to be bold. It's time to take actions. Do the things you need to do. Okay. This is not a time like this is not someone who is stopping and, pondering for, like, it's not an earth sign. Okay. This is like, this is not earth energy. Okay. This is fire energy. Fire has to burn. Okay. So it's time to take those actions. It's time to do the things, right? So this Queen of Rods character, she, like I said, she's very bold. She could be very bright, outgoing, like adventurous, an adventurous nature. Okay. The thing about the Queen of Rods, though, is that, she may have something about herself that she feels like isn't the best, though, isn't the best thing to be seen. She doesn't want you to see that part of her, right? For whatever reason. But don't be afraid to show that part of yourself. Okay. Because that is something that could actually be a benefit to you. Okay. So don't hold back when it comes to your actions. When it comes to exercising your willpower, it's time to take that road. Okay. It's time to take that path of the heart. All right. And follow it. Okay. So let's see. So yeah, this Queen of Rods lady, she's getting stuff ready in the home. Okay. So what other, what else do we got? Well, let's see if there's anything else that this particular card is saying to us. Like she's ready. In this card, she's standing still. Right. So I feel like, standing your ground is coming through. All right. Whatever path you've chosen, like stand your ground, keep going, keep taking the actions. It's about taking actions. Okay. Using your willpower, using your intention, keep going forward. Okay. So next one, last part of this message for this week. Last part of the message. Tell us the last part of the message. Oh, baby. Okay. It's time for a rebirth. Of course, we always get one of these cards at the end, right? That's what always happens. But don't look at this as a bad thing, because it is time for a transformation. Okay, the Death card is never really a bad card. Like, it's not the Tower. Let's just say that. Okay, it's not the Tower. Could have been worse. All right, so it's time to put an end to something. It's time for something to. It's had its day. The sun is setting. Okay, so yeah, it's like carrot. Look, I'm noticing it's all the things that are on its chest. Okay, they need to be said. The things that are on your chest, they need to be said. It needs to have that opportunity. It's like planting. They're telling me it's like planting a seed in the ground. All right, you've planted the seed. All right, and the seed needs to be covered up, and it's gonna, in order to experience that transformation, in order to break through that hole that the seed itself. Okay, it needs that darkness. Okay, it needs that death, so to speak, of what it's known. So there's a death to what it is that you've known. Okay, so let's say, for example, like this holiday season, let's say you want to do things differently now. Okay, it's time to allow yourself to put those other the ways that you used to do things aside, put them to bed. Okay, and allow there to be a transformation. Okay, don't be afraid to walk that path, because that's really part of walking that path. Is it's hard to do that because change is scary. Humans fight change. They'd rather stay in something that's comfortably dysfunctional comfort. Okay, then try, like, and indeed, like, it's something that has been going on again and again and again, doing the same thing again and again and again. Okay, getting good at it, getting good at doing that thing. All right, but it's time to take that action, be bold. All right, and do something in a new way. All right, it's time to do it in a new way, because it's required. There's a part of you that needs to die, so to speak. Don't want to say that word. All right, because it's time for a transformation. A death of something doesn't have to be a scary thing, because it totally means that rebirth is right around the corner. All right, so see if there's anything else that I'm being drawn to this time, particularly on the card. No, I can't think of anything else. Like with every sunset, there is a sunrise, right? You have to let that sunset, that time that, for me, when it's even comparing it, like I said, comparing it to the Christmas thing, like I have to do things in a new way. Like I definitely won't be able to do things the way I have done them in the past when it comes to Christmas. I'm completely different life circumstances. I'm going to have to figure something out. But this could apply to so many different layers and levels of life. So really take the time to search yourself and see where it is that you need to take these changes. And don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. It's time to take those changes. It's time to channel that the Queen of Rods energy. Okay? That's why they're showing me. Like her face looks like she's like apprehensive, like, I don't want to do this. That's totally how I feel about Christmas. So tired of these holidays. I've been through so many of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of birthdays. I'm tired of Halloweens. I'm tired of Christmases. I'm tired of all of the buying and having to prep and all these. I feel like it's lost its original meaning. Really, right? I want to do something different. I want to figure out how to do it different. Like, I want my children to still have a great time, but like, even I'll tell you guys, like, okay, usually I do Elf on the Shelf with the kids. Like, we got it like before I became awakened to all that stuff, like what the holidays truly mean and stuff like that, where they came from. We had an Elf on the Shelf. I can't find that motherfucker anywhere. I can't find him. The kids were like, isn't Olaf supposed to come back after Thanksgiving? Oh, yeah, he is, isn't it? Well, we moved, so maybe he just didn't find our house. I don't know, guys. Santa doesn't need to watch you. You guys are so good. Santa doesn't need to check on you. I'll tell him. You guys are great. I'm in a body of a woman with 6 kids, guys. My soul braid walk-in picked a body of a woman with 6 kids. My God. The job I was taking on. Who'd have thought? Okay. Oh, you know what? And that is the other. I just remembered that. That's right. Okay. That was the other thing I was thinking about. I was thinking about my soul braid walk-in experience. Let's go into the Adventure Time tarot cards, though. I don't know why I'm like reshuffling these. Like I'm going to pull again out of these ones. That's the other thing I was thinking about. Like how to explain to people how to even understand it myself. I don't have the answers to all of this stuff. I just know what I experienced, what it felt like for me. And I kind of felt like this is what Spirit showed me. They showed me playing a video game. You're sitting there, if you're playing a video game and you have like a person next to you, a friend next to you, and you're doing pretty good or whatever. And then the person's like, hey, why don't you let me try? And so you hand it over to them and they're playing the game. They're still your character. You're still, living that life in the game. Okay. But now someone else is playing it. Someone else is taking the lead. Okay. I feel like that's kind of like what it felt like for me, what happened over like the soul braiding, so to speak. Okay. Over like a 4-year period. It was kind of like, all right, Cassandra, let me have a turn. My soul braid walk-in. I don't even know what I would call them. Aurora, I guess. I was like, let me try it. And then hand it back and then do it. And then finally it was kind of like, okay, it's complete. Let's do this. Just one person now, just Aurora doing this now. So that's kind of what, these are just the things that I ponder when I'm out there delivering people's sustenance for their bodies or other weird things. I actually have to buy a lot of weird things for a lot of random things through DoorDash. You'd be surprised. It's kind of funny. Oh, I'm really glad to hear that, Brayden. I'm really glad to hear that. Glad to hear you could relate to it. And everyone's going to relate to it in their own way, you know? So whoever is meant to find this will. I trust and I believe that. You know, I have a very unique energy, frequency, signature, whatever you want to call it. So I know that I'm going to attract a very unique crowd. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all of you guys for being here, especially if you come here on a regular basis. I can't thank you enough, for real. Like, I really enjoy doing this here. I'm glad to be here with you guys. And thank you for supporting me and going here and continuing to do this. And if you're new, if you're catching this on the replay, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the like button if you like any of what you see here. You know, I'm patient though. I'm not in a rush to get like tons and tons of followers, because I see the pressure that it puts on people. You know, so I'm just asking God to let it grow at its own pace and to let it go where it may. You know, if this is all it ever ends up being, I'll still be happy with that, because I got my tribe here with me. And I'm so grateful to have found you all. And I'm so grateful that you have found me. Okay, so one more shuffle. You know, it takes a minute. Yeah, thank you, Hero. Thank you, Marcus, Geraldine, White Swan, Alexis, Braden, Trevor. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. Truly. Okay. All right, did I shuffle enough? I don't know. I'm like getting them all a little bit mixed up. I'm getting a little bit emotional is what's happening. All right, one last shuffle. We are asking Spirit for guidance for next week's energies. Let us know what's up. Let us know what's up. Next week's energies. Let us know. What is it that we need to know for next week's energies? Yes. For next week's energies. What does the collective need to know for next week's energies? First one. Ooh, baby. You know, this guy loves to come out. So apparently we are still dealing with some emotional trauma and baggage, okay, that we are keeping hidden in our mind vault. Okay, this is things that we put on ourselves. Okay, they're saying sensual pleasures too. Like that was the one positive takeaway that I ever heard of the Devil card, was like this could also mean indulging in those types of things, like you know, food and drink and just things that you love. Okay, that, you know, yeah, obviously it's things that in the physical world that we can enjoy. So as a positive flip to the Devil card, it could say that you're being given permission to enjoy those types of things. But if we focus on the actual character of this particular devil of the Adventure Time card deck, for me, it always signals that it's time to unload some baggage, that it's time to, there's things that you have been keeping locked away that you've not wanted to deal with. Okay, that it needs to be unlocked and it needs to be released, because it's things that we've locked away on purpose, that we've wanted to lock away. Okay, that like maybe it could be things that we haven't on purpose locked away, even because when it comes to childhood trauma, actually, I was just talking to someone about this earlier this week, that, you know, all the parts of ourselves, all the child parts of ourselves, okay, if they don't feel safe enough to open up and let us know that they're there, then we can't really address them and heal them, because in order to protect us, you know, the brain quarantines off this spot and shuts that down. All right. And we'll just be running on autopilot, and we'll just be running with these beliefs about ourselves, this belief system about ourselves that could be completely inaccurate and completely wrong, and based on something that we misinterpreted as a child. All right. And we don't even know that it's there, because the childhood version of ourselves doesn't feel safe enough. If you haven't created a safe and stable emotional environment for them to know that it's not going to, they don't want to cause any problem. They don't want to rock the boat, you know, but they do need to be heard. So in order for them to even step up to the plate to share themselves with you, then you have to create a more, make sure that they have a stable ground for them to make themselves known, because Spirit is asking us to look at those things. Okay, let's do the next one. What's the other part of this message? Next week's energies. Ooh. Okay. Okay, so, but at least it's not the Tower, right? Watch, that'll be the next one. All right, so now we got the Ten of Swords. Okay, which is kaput. Something is done. Something is complete. Something is over. Okay, if it's not, then this is permission to quit. This is giving you permission to quit. Okay, that's the thing about the Ten of Swords, though, is that the good news is that it is over, that it is done. Okay, we're at the end of it. You know, we're at the end of the cycle, which kind of similar to the Death card. Okay, I guess. You know, something has reached its end. Okay, it can't be transformed into the next stage of whatever it is that it's going towards if this doesn't happen. All right, we'll get into this character for a second. And we've gotten him before, so I don't mind talking about him again. Though this is Jake's dad, who was, oh God, creepy. Okay, it's reminding me of those fucking inorganic beings again. Fuck. They're gonna goddamn haunt my mind. Oh God. Okay. So he kind of reminds me of something like that. Basically, this character, the way he propagates himself is he bites an organic being, I guess you could say, another creature, and this impregnates them, and then this being comes out of their, wherever it is that he's impregnating them, in the head, for in this particular case. And he does that for a very manipulative purpose, though. He's like creating more of himself so that way he can live forever. And that was part of the book too, is that's what the sorcerers were trading the inorganic beings for, was for like longevity and long life, and the sacrifices that it took for them to give them that. So this character absolutely is a trickster, and he convinces Jake that, you know, he loves him, and that, you know, hey, I'm your dad that's not been around, and, you know, come to my planet. You're going to be the hero there, you know, and the planet, you have to portal. He literally makes a portal and takes him through this creepy looking portal to get to this planet. And he creates a whole fake like production of convincing Jake that he's the hero, only to slowly suck the life out of him and make himself young again. Luckily, Jake is smarter than that, and he manages to turn the tables. Okay, and he takes his life force back, but in doing so, he mentions his kids, that he's not, he loves his kids too much, that he wasn't about to let this guy hurt his kids. And when the guy hears about oh, you have kids with magical powers, well, I'm just going to go and get my little ship and I'm going to go get to your kids. And Jake's like, absolutely not. And he takes the ship that this dude is in and throws it into the singularity, which this guy's been fighting for centuries and centuries and centuries, because the singularity is going to end his existence as he knows it. Okay, but he finally had to accept it. And it stranded Jake. It stranded Jake. And it's reminding me more of that book. It's reminding me more of The Art of Dreaming, because that's kind of what happened. Okay, when Carlos went to this, when they set the trap for him in a very similar fashion, they set the trap for him. Okay, and there was another being there. They brought another organic being that presented itself as a little girl. Okay, and it wasn't a scout. It was another being from another universe that they had done the same thing that they'd done to so many other, humans and sorcerers, whatever you want to call them. Okay, and so Carlos was so upset about it. Okay, he was like, well, I want to free this little girl. Okay, and he was able to do so, but he was only able to do so by exchanging his life for hers. Okay, and so this little girl went back to Earth, and being, from other realm and stuff like that, she was able to find Don Juan, and Don Juan pulled his party together, and they all went into the dream space, and they got Carlos back. But he almost died. Like, these inorganic beings almost killed him. Like, that was the exchange that he made. So I guess in a nutshell, it would be, what I'm trying to say here is, what is it that you, nothing is for free, so to speak. How things end. Okay, like, cover your bases when it comes to that stuff. It kind of got really off track there. I'm trying to I'm trying to reel it back, but that just really spun me on my head. Okay, so yeah, the Ten of Swords is about, it's so crazy. Like, it was even a blue orb in the thing. It was blue orb energy. So, yeah, this is permission to quit and walk away from something. This is time to realize that it needs to be done and over with. Okay, so if we're going back to the first original card, it's like time to get out that emotional trauma and that emotional baggage. And it's time to put an end to it. The false things that we believe about ourselves, the false belief systems that we have, that we've carried forward from other time periods. Okay, it's time for those to come to an end. Okay. Last part of the message, guys. Come on, last part of this message. What do we got? Is there any hope here? Come on. Ooh, yes. There's the rebirth. There's the timeline shift. Okay, there's the timeline shift. We got the Ace of Swords. All right, so this is all building up and heading towards a way to be able to communicate in a completely new way, being able to express yourself in a completely new way. Okay, you can't learn to communicate in a new way if you aren't willing to put to bed the other way, right? Like, I'm kind of like thinking back to the other cards and the other energies of the other cards here. But in this particular case, we got Gumbald, all right, who is Princess Bubblegum's uncle. All right, that he had a completely different way of communicating with the Candy Kingdom than Princess Bubblegum did. He just, it wasn't, was it bad? Was it, like, this character wasn't exactly around a whole lot. So I'm trying to think about who he was, so that way I can throw some of those energies into this reading. Okay, but this is about how you say things, the way you say things, the way you go about doing things. Maybe it's time to take a new approach. Okay, because it's time to shift into something new. All right, this is really, I feel like this is almost like the two readings kind of read into each other. It was like a sentence between, for both of them. So it's like we ended with the Devil card on the last one, or the Death card, and then we went to the Devil and the Ten of Swords. It's like they're all saying the same thing. It's really time to step, even with the Queen of Rods, time to be brave and be bold and do something in a new way and use your willpower to push forward. Okay, push forward through the death, so to speak. Like if we're talking about the art of dreaming stuff, we'll push forward through that first gate of the dreaming space and to use your attention, use your intentions to, like, even in life, use your intention to guide your path, that path that has heart. Okay. And now you're going to learn how to communicate it in a different way. That's what's going to get you there. Okay. That's what's going to help bring up those inner children that need to feel safe. Like you need to have a new inner dialogue with yourself. Okay. One which lets those parts of you know you're safe. You know, like the times when you weren't safe, the times where you were locked away and you weren't allowed to speak your voice, you weren't allowed to say what you really thought and felt, those times are done. Right? It's time to speak up and have, and know that you're going to be victorious, because that's what I see on his crown. With all of this, I see victory. Like he knows that he has what it takes to get the job done. To create something new that he wanted to create, because that's what this guy in his character, that's what he wanted to do. He ended up being a great sorcerer too. He was able to create lots of good things. Through his ability to lead and command. So this could have to do with leadership. Like you need to be the one. You need to be the, like he's got a crown on. Like you need to be the king in this regard. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you here. Glad you stopped by. So yeah, let me see if there's anything new. I really get a good feeling about this altogether, though. Even though we had some heavier energy cards, ultimately, I have a really good feeling that this is going to be breakthrough towards the end of next week. Okay, so you have a week to think about it, to plan it, to put all those other things aside, put them to bed, put them to rest. Allow for this new energy to come in so that you can see the rebirth that is necessary. That is not necessary. It's like unstoppable. What's the word for it? Like like when the sun sets, you know it's going to rise again. Okay, so it's time to make room for that energy of that new birth, that rebirth. Okay, with your words. Yes, out with the old, in with the new. Yes, yes. So much yes. Love that. Love that, hero. Thank you so very much. Okay, I liked that reading, even though, like I said, it was like, at least we didn't get the tower, right? Or the Three of Swords, like that one could have come up, or some other bad ones, you know. I'm not bad. They're neither good nor bad, right? Anyway, if there's any other comments or questions, please drop them in the chat now. And I'll think if there's anything else that I wanted to share before we head on out. Had a great time here with you guys. It's been a long day for me, so I'm ready to go relax and eat some food. I had so much fun wearing my Moth Woman cape, though. I wish you guys could see the back of it. Oh, the Moth Woman. I don't think I ever finished that, did I? Yeah. She said that she was me. That's the thing. When I was meditating and they showed me she was a Moth Woman, I said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I'm you." And she popped into my face. I was like, "Oh, I have a Moth Woman version of me. That's pretty cool. I like Moth Women." All right, I don't really see anything else coming in, so thanks, Deborah. Yeah, I thought it was super cute too. Got it on Amazon. All right, lovely, lovely, lovely folks. I hope you all have a great, yeah, later, hero. I hope you guys all have a great Friday and a great weekend and a good holiday. Hope you get it all done. Pray for me. Pray for me. I don't know how I'm going to do this. All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Bye.